رتيبة بعدما من جريدة البلاد. لدي سؤال للمبعوث الخاص لوزيرة الخارجية الأمريكية. في لقائه مع الشباب الجزائري أو ممثلين عن الشباب الجزائري، هل تم تناول القضايا السياسية المتعلقة مثلا بالإصلاحات أو بمسألة المشاركة في الانتخابات التشريعية المقبلة؟
Both. Very vibrant discussions, particularly in the area of economic reform, and in a strong call, as I said, for a vibrant investment environment that can create more jobs for young people. Additionally, both in my conversations with young people and in my conversations with my colleagues in the Algerian government, we had very frank discussions about the costs and benefits of subsidies and loans for young entrepreneurs. And that is a focus that we will continue to carry forward in our broader economic conversations with the government. Additionally, on the political issues you inquired about, we had some very forceful discussions with young people who, as I said, expressed tremendous optimism about making their voices heard in the forthcoming elections.
السفارة الأمريكية في الجزائر تعلم الحساسية التي تبديها الحكومة الجزائرية باجتماع أحزاب سياسية أو فعاليات في المجتمع المدني مع سفراء الدول الغربية. أنتم اجتمعتم مع فعاليات المجتمع المدني وخاصة الشباب. هل كانت هذه الاجتماعات باستشارة مسبقة مع الحكومة الجزائرية أم هي مبادرة أمريكية بحتة بدون استشارة السلطات الجزائرية؟
No. One absolutely critical element of our engagement with Algerians is full transparency in everything we do. So, for example, in our relationships with non-governmental organizations, we are constantly striving to make more of information available about what we're doing, both to civil society itself, but also to the government. So in these particular cases, both with Ronan's interactions today and with the Secretary's meeting yesterday with civil society, the government was fully aware of these events.
Bonsoir, Mahdi Psikri à l'Ouatan. Le fait de vouloir bâtir des passerelles entre le peuple américain et algérien, est-ce que c'est pas une volonté d'améliorer l'image des États-Unis suite à l'invasion de l'Afghanistan et à l'Irak, améliorer l'image des États-Unis dans le monde arabe et en Afrique du Nord d'une manière générale? Est-ce que c'est l'idée que vous voulez propager? Et deuxièmement, j'aimerais savoir, en fait, vous avez parlé d'une manière générale sur l'aide que vous allez octroyer aux jeunes algériens. Mais moi, j'aimerais bien avoir plus de détails, c'est-à-dire les jeunes algériens qui viendront à l'ambassade, est-ce qu'il y aura un bureau spécial qui va leur accorder des crédits? Les crédits avec quel taux d'intérêt? Forcément, il y a un retour d'investissement et une part d'intérêt de l'ambassade. C'est-à-dire, si vous êtes des jeunes algériens, ce ne sera pas gratuitement.
Of course, everything that we do at this embassy is to defend and advance American national interests. The American taxpayer is paying for all this, and so the taxpayers have a perfect right to expect that we're going to put American interests first in all cases. In fact, I would say that that's the role of all governments. All governments are supposed to put the interests of their citizens first. And so we have a strong interest in developing relations with the Algerian people, and particularly the youth, because we think that a strong, prosperous, democratic Algeria is completely in the interests of the United States of America. So that's what we get back when we do programs.
I think the same is true of our engagement with youth, as Ambassador Ensher mentioned. We surveyed the global landscape and realized that there was an unprecedented number of young people, that young people were uniquely empowered by new technologies, but also uniquely affected by the economic downturn and by other factors. So as Secretary Clinton expressed this week, we made the clear conclusion that young people need to be a part of all of the solutions we seek around the world. and that in responding to them, we advance our goal of a more stable, prosperous region and world.
Monsieur Hilal Hashmi de la chaîne 3, moi je voudrais vous poser deux questions. Vous avez parlé des jeunes qui doivent faire partie de toutes les solutions. Moi je vous pose la question, pourquoi cet intérêt américain maintenant aux jeunes Algériens par rapport au dispositif? Est-ce que parce que les jeunes au niveau de cette région ont été justement à l'origine de certains changements de gouvernement, d'où l'intérêt des Américains? Vous parlez d'intention des Américains d'aider, mais est-ce que ceci se limite seulement aux intentions ou alors derrière ces intentions il y a aussi d'autres visées? C'est ma première question. Et puis vous avez parlé de partenariat pour soutenir et accompagner ces jeunes, mais au-delà des intentions, comment se concrétise et se matérialise aujourd'hui ce partenariat et pourquoi ne pas avoir fait comme les autres pays, par exemple de la région, comme ceux de l'Europe, passer par les gouvernements, par des soutiens avec le gouvernement, validés par le gouvernement au profit des jeunes?
So to your first question, one point I made earlier that I would return to is that our process of reviewing whether our policies were doing all they could to respond to young people, which was a formal task force that Secretary Clinton launched, pulling together every area of our government, began well before the revolutions of this region that you are referring to. That was based on a number of the factors that I described just now. That focus was driven by, as I said, demographics, where in many countries around the world, we are seeing a larger proportion of the population under 30 than has ever been the case historically. It is driven by technology, where that is a generation that has grown up with tools that empower them to effect economic growth in ways that were never possible before. But it is also true that those technologies mean this is a generation that has grown up with tremendous ability to see beyond its own borders, so that a young person in any country in the world can see examples of transparency, good governance, and economic opportunity that sometimes do not exist within their country. And as I said, sometimes they see these examples of opportunity, and particularly now, as we hit a global set of economic challenges that young people are hit hard by, they face obstacles that can lead to frustration. Young people are 3 times more likely to be unemployed than any other demographic. And frustrated young people without those opportunities, we acknowledge, can be ripe targets for recruitment to black markets, to extremist elements, can come to pose a challenge for all of us. Whereas, given the opportunities to succeed in those ways, we really believe they can be drivers of progress and prosperity everywhere. That is why this is such a priority. To answer your second question, some of that work is being done in our direct support for civil society organizations around the world, but a great deal of it is, in fact, being done through other governments. And in countries where we have foreign aid relationships with governments, we often task them with advancing this priority. We ask them for collaboration on their relationship with young people and on giving them the tools to succeed that I just described.
Thank you. I think we have time for one last question.
Bonjour. Bonsoir. Moi, j'aimerais bien ouvrir une petite parenthèse à propos de Woody Allen, parce que je crois que c'est le fils de Woody Allen. Alors, comment va votre père? Parce que c'est lui qui a dit un jour, Marx est mort, Dieu est mort, et moi-même, je ne me sens pas bien. C'est-à-dire que lui, c'est une opportunité pour le monde. Bon, voilà les États-Unis qui offrent une opportunité pour la jeunesse à travers le monde, et ça me rappelle exactement un très grand programme de l'administration passée de Bush, c'était le GMO, le Grand Moyen-Orient. Quand vous dites qu'on a établi la carte de la jeunesse à travers le monde, vous placez toute la jeunesse du monde dans le même sac. Je crois qu'il y a des différences. Il y a des différences ethniques, culturelles et politiques, géographiques. Donc on ne peut pas annoncer un programme où on place toute la jeunesse mondiale dans un même moule. C'est pas possible, à mon avis. C'est un peu la même difficulté qu'avait rencontré le projet du Grand Moyen-Orient. Voilà. Si vous permettez juste une petite parenthèse que je tâcherai de fermer vite pour son Excellence l'ambassadeur, est-ce qu'on peut connaître un peu le message transmis par la secrétaire d'État Hillary Clinton au président Bouteflika, notamment à propos des élections? Merci.
To your first question, a very good and completely accurate point, and something we've been very clear about. Young people face disparate challenges everywhere in the world. I've had conversations personally with young people in each and every region. And from country to country and from region to region, the challenges vary widely and the demographics vary widely. That's why our approach is, in fact, nuanced in the way that you describe. I would say that there are, however, commonalities. Those fundamental needs and calls very loudly sometimes for a source of legitimate livelihood, a way to support oneself and one's family, and then on the other hand, a way to make one's voice heard in one's community, are calls that I hear everywhere. Now, they look different in different places. The obstacles are different and the opportunities are different. But the fundamental needs do have common threads. So we have those overarching goals around the world, but the solutions look very different. And the council that we've assembled here, for instance, is different from the councils that we've assembled in Bangladesh, in Latin America, in the Far East. Each region requires its own tailored solutions, and in each region, we are launching programs that empower young entrepreneurs, empower young people to drive economic progress in different ways that are uniquely suited to circumstances on the ground.
So I had such a long time to prepare. This answer will be perfect, I can assure you. You know, there really was no message from the Secretary of State to President Bouteflika. This was a consultation between partners. As far as the elections go, there was some discussion of that topic, and the Secretary expressed happiness that there will be international observers to monitor the process of the elections, and also that there will be such a strong Algerian government effort to ensure that the elections are free and fair. And the Secretary made one really important point, both to her colleagues in the Algerian government and also to the representatives of civil society, and that is this. If you wish to change the system, if you wish to see the system develop, you must participate. If you do not participate as candidates, as volunteers, as activists, as voters, then you're leaving the control of the system and your future in somebody else's hands.
Speaking about participation, or participation in the elections? That's what you meant?
Yep, yes.
C'est ce qu'il voulait dire.
Okay.
Merci.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.